Staying afloat as a small restaurant is not easy. In the Lower Mainland, those challenges come in numbers. Finch's Tea House in downtown Vancouver is struggling to manage repair costs after a ninth window smashing incident in 18 months. And last week, the Ovaltine Cafe on the downtown east side reopened after a suspected arson shut it down for half the year. These events come amid rising grocery costs, labor shortages, and lagging recovery from COVID, all weighing on restaurant bottom lines. For more on how we got to this point and what can be done to address it, Mark von Schellwitz joins us now. He's Vice President of the Western Canada branch of Restaurants Canada. Mark, I listed some problems there, but what else are restaurants facing in BC right now?
Well, good evening, Dan. And there's really a perfect storm, post-pandemic storm of headwinds that the restaurant industry's had to deal with. You've mentioned a couple of them. We've had tight labor markets, labor shortages. We have had cost increases that for all our inputs that have been about 20%, but yet our menu inflation is only 6% because we can't pass those costs all on to our consumers, obviously. We've had interest rates go up, and the vast majority of our members are still in a post-pandemic debt situation. And with higher interest rates combined with that, it's all a really difficult time for restaurants. The whole industry shifted as well, more focus on takeout and delivery. And we're still not back at those traffic levels that we had pre-pandemic due to a lot of reasons, primarily, people still working at home and not going back to the office. So there's been a huge number of these headwinds. And as a result of that, in our latest Restaurants Canada survey, about 51% of our members are not making it. That's compared to 12% pre-pandemic. And you've also seen bankruptcies increase by 90% in 2023 over 2022 for restaurants. So those are just some of the challenges that they're dealing with. And of course, what I hear a lot from members as well is a lot of government policy imposed costs at a time when they can least afford it.
Can you specify which government costs that you're worried about?
Yeah, I mean, all levels of government, really. If we want to talk about the provincial government, there was the 5 paid sick days, a 7% increase in the minimum wage, a new statutory holiday, and other legislation. And coming in tomorrow is going to be a new provincial regulation on single-use items and reduction of plastic, which really is another cost that our members have to deal with. Federally, we've got the non-extension of the CBC loan, which is really important. Taxes going up, supply managed cost of goods going up as far as chicken, dairy, and those types of issues. So, and municipally, the taxes are going up to the point where when leases are being renewed, a lot of our small little restaurant members just can't afford to renew those leases, and that puts them out of business.
Mark, what kinds of policy changes would you like to see implemented, and what do you think are the realistic ones?
Realistically, I think that a lot can be done to help with our payroll tax situation. Here in British Columbia, for example, we've been arguing for the last few years that the employer health tax the exemption level should be increased from $500,000 to $1.5 million and then graduated up to $4 million in payroll. That would have a big significant impact on our members. Municipally, just try and keep those costs and the percent that businesses pay compared to residents, keep those costs down, because that's certainly hurting our lease rates. Federally, excise tax on alcohol is a big one that we're trying to get some changes on. Still, the CBC extension, we're still hearing from a lot of our members that are worried they're not going to be able to get the forgivable portion of their CBC loans back by January 18th. And in many cases, they can't even get their financial institutions to underwrite new loans for them. So it's been a real challenge. And I can point to numerous other sort of policy objectives that we've passed on to all levels of government to try and help our industry, not just, so they don't do any further harm, but also instead help reduce costs on the industry at this fragile time, where we're going to lose even more of our small restaurants and communities throughout the province.
Mark von Schellwitz, Vice President of the Western Canada branch of Restaurants Canada. Thanks for your time and perspective today.
My pleasure, Dan.